Monetizing your patent. Patents often represent a significant investment as they're costly and time-consuming to produce. However, generating a return on investment and turning patents into profits is not always easy. One of the primary reasons for this is that selling products requires having channels in place to reach the market. These sales, marketing and distribution channels can take years, even decades to establish, and they're sometimes beyond the reach of smaller patent holders. Patent licensing involves setting up a specialist sales team, research to identify licensees, and marketing programs to reach them. Armies of lawyers and researchers are necessary for companies looking to assert patents and profit from infringers. Infringers are often difficult to find, and the legal process required to extract royalties is costly, time-consuming and speculative, as it has highly unpredictable results. In this slideshow, we'll cover 10 techniques for monetizing patents. As you can see, traditional approaches will be addressed, such as selling products that incorporate the patented inventions, as well as various forms of licensing. We'll also get to explore some relatively new monetization developments, such as equity investments and loans using the intellectual property as collateral. Before we go further, let's remind ourselves what a patent is. A patent is merely a right to exclude others from practicing your patented invention for a period of time. In the United States, this right is derived from the Constitution. It's important to remember that a patent doesn't necessarily give the patent holder the right to practice the invention, as components may be subject to patents held by someone else. So a patent is merely a right to exclude others, and this right is enforceable in court. Perhaps the most obvious method of monetizing patents is to sell products that incorporate the patented invention. Our products are unique as they're backed by our patents. The patent gives you the right to block competing products entering the market if they infringe your claims. So monetization is achieved by selling a differentiated, superior product at a profit. Product sales require extensive marketing support and distribution channels on a national or international scale. Often only large corporations are able to succeed in profitably delivering products to the market. Although product sales is an obvious and effective method of profiting from patents, it's available to only the largest corporate patent holders. Selling the patents themselves can be a welcome source of revenue. There are many corporations and intellectual property specialists that are looking to buy patents outright. Some wish to use the patents to support their products. Others are merely interested in licensing them out or stockpiling to strengthen their position in the patent wars. Patent buying activity is growing on a global scale, and many dormant patents could be turned into revenues by selling the patent rights to a larger organization that's better placed to profit from them. Selling patents is often the most profitable strategy available to smaller companies, startups, and independent inventors. The value of a patent depends on a number of factors. A patent that's expired or found invalid is unenforceable and worth nothing at all. Large buyers actively sweeping up patents often pay about the price of a new car. Most portfolios sell between $20,000 and $100,000 per patent. The price per patent can be increased from the value of a car to that of a house if the patent claims are broad, the market is large, and you're able to bring a number of competing buyers to the table. Whether the house is a rundown shack or $1 million mansion depends on the quality of the patent and the effectiveness of the sales process. It's usually only the battle-tested patents that can sell for more than $1 million. The ones that have been litigated in court and won. Beyond that, sometimes industry-standard patents are able to sell for several $1 million. The value of patent-pending applications is entirely contingent on whether the claims are approved and the patent actually issues. You don't have to give up marketing your own products when you sell a patent. Selling the patent with the license back is common in patent transfer transactions. Remember that a patent is merely a right to exclude others, so when granting a license back, the patent buyer is essentially saying, "We're buying the rights to exclude anyone from practicing this invention except for you, the seller. You're free to go about your business without worrying about infringing these patents." Of course, the grant usually restricts your ability to sublicense and transfer the license on to others, but most patent buyers are prepared to grant a license back that's broad enough to allow you to continue generating revenues from product sales. If you're a product company, this type of structure can be very appealing. You're essentially selling the right to enforce the patents in court, but retaining the right to manufacture your own products. If you don't have armies of lawyers and you're not in the business of litigating patents against infringers, then you're selling enforcement rights that you will likely never use yourselves and retaining the rights you need to conduct your business. The other point here is that the patent buyer will likely be more effective at restricting infringement from competitors. Walking away from this type of transaction with a check, a back license, and a more realistic threat of enforcement against your competitors can leave your company in a much stronger market position. A patent sale with a license back is a monetization technique that many product-oriented companies should consider. Selling a patent with revenue share. In this type of scenario, the buyer is saying, "We'll buy your patents and share any subsequent licensing revenues with you." The advantage of this is that the seller receives cash today and cash tomorrow from the ongoing royalty stream. The disadvantage is that usually the upfront payment that the buyer is prepared to make is much lower in this type of structure than they are in an outright patent purchase. The other issue is that often the buyers are acquiring the patents to put them into large pools with hundreds or potentially thousands of other patents, and calculating the royalties that are generated by any individual patent is very difficult and often impossible. Good candidates for these types of transactions are operating companies that are divesting of large portfolios of infringed patents. If the portfolio is small or there are very few patents involved, it's very difficult to negotiate a patent sale with a revenue share. If the portfolio is a large one with this type of structure, selling the patent with a revenue share is a very good option. There are a number of law firms and licensing organizations prepared to buy enforcement rights to patents without taking full title. Their business model is usually to sell licenses to potential infringers. These firms are essentially saying to patent holders, "We'll enforce the patent rights for you, we pay the costs, and you get to share the proceeds." Although the patent holder may be joined in an infringement lawsuit, they can be indemnified against resulting costs and liability. This is somewhat similar to engaging with a full-service contingency fee law firm. You keep title to the patents, but you partner with the law firm for enforcement. As it's a long-term partnership, revenue sharing is a key element of the arrangement. Upfront payments, perhaps characterized as advances against licensing revenues, can be negotiable. Licensing your patents doesn't have to be a threatening or adversarial activity. Friendly licensing is the theme for many large corporations, universities and research labs. IBM is reputed to generate more than $1 billion a year from outbound licensing. However, IBM is the largest patent holder in the world, employs a large licensing team, and has been known to sue infringers in the past. So IBM clients do have compelling reasons to pay license fees. Without a credible threat of patent enforcement, it's not easy to convince infringers that they should pay a license fee. So friendly licensing is usually based on providing new technologies and abilities that licensees don't currently enjoy. By paying a royalty for access to new technology, the licensee is enabled to build new products and capabilities. Exclusivity is another reason for buying a license. Many of these technology-oriented license arrangements involve exclusive rights to certain markets and fields of use. Licensing officers are sometimes surprised when their friendly approaches to potential licensees result in letters from lawyers or even lawsuits. A potential licensee, in fear of a possible future infringement action, has a right to strike first, bringing a lawsuit that asks the court to remove a cloud of uncertainty by making a declaratory judgment that the company is not an infringer of the patents in question. Friendly calls to licensees can sometimes result in hostile responses. The friendly approach can work well when licensing trade secrets, but can be ineffective when licensing patents that carry an inherent threat of enforcement. A potential infringer has a very compelling reason to pay license fees when faced with a credible threat of enforcement. The threat is very clear. If you don't license our patents, we'll sue you for infringement. In some cases, the lawsuit is filed before the licensing discussions are initiated. At the very least, lawsuits and threats can be effective means of grabbing the attention of potential licensees. Enforcement-based licensing to infringers has been a profitable activity for many patent holders. However, lawsuits can be expensive and persistent threats can harm the image of the company. So this type of activity is practiced by specialist licensing firms and smaller corporations with little to lose. Of course, the threat of enforcement doesn't have to be explicit to be effective. A patent is a right to enforce, so the threat of enforcement is implicit in any patent licensing discussion. The question for a potential licensee is whether the patent holder is capable of enforcement. If the patent holder has armies of lawyers and deep pockets, then the implied threat can be very real. If the patent holder is an individual inventor or a small startup lacking the resources to launch a legal assault, or has no intention of asserting the rights in court, then the threat is not very convincing. Potential licensees are sometimes confused about whether the patent holder is friend or foe. If a threat is perceived, they always have the right to bring a lawsuit for declaratory judgment. Alternatively, if the threat is perceived but not offensive, the company may be easily persuaded to negotiate a license fee. New funds are being formed to invest in startups and later-stage corporations with strong patent portfolios. Some of these funds are operated by firms in the patent licensing business. As a condition for providing funding, the investor usually gains some access to the company's intellectual property. They may be characterized as saying, "We'll invest in your company if we can partner with you to enforce your patents." Startups are often stifled by a lack of funding and the inability to enforce their patents against infringers. For many small patent holders, the combination of funding with a patent licensing capability is very appealing. The funding allows the company to accelerate its business. The enforcement partnership helps prevent infringement by competitors and allows the company to share in the profits from licensing of its intellectual property. In addition to equity-based investments, some lenders are starting to provide debt financing to companies using patents as collateral. The lending process involves valuation of the patents by an independent accounting firm. Lenders will advance funds to the company up to a percentage of the value of the patents. This obviously encumbers the patents, but can provide a welcome source of finance, and IP-backed loans are an emerging option for large corporations with good credit ratings and strong portfolios of patents. Although monetizing patents is not always quick and easy, from product sales to patent sales, licensing and investments, there are an increasing number of options available to patent holders large and small. For more information and advice on which strategy is best for you, contact Tynax, the technology trading exchange.